J.D. Vance says he laments that school shootings are a fact of life and calls for better security, and J.D. Vance says the solution to the childcare crisis is to have grandparents do it for free. Donald Trump claims schools are performing gender-affirming surgeries on. J.D. Vance says he laments that school shootings are a fact of life and calls for better security, and J.D. Vance says the solution to the childcare crisis is to have grandparents do it for free. Donald Trump claims schools are performing gender-affirming surgeries on transgender kids. New election poll shows low-income voters flocking to Kamala Harris over Donald Trump.
Trump promises to embrace industries of the future, including crypto and AI. Trump says, "I'll hire Elon Musk to make drastic changes as U.S. efficiencies are." And Trump says Elon Musk has agreed to lead proposed government efficiency commission. As former president unveils new economic plans, Trump insists he and Vance are not weird but solid rocks as he rambles about hating mosquitoes. Tim Walz's family members pose in t-shirts declaring their presidential preference. Walz is for Trump.
Trump pleads not guilty to revised U.S. 2020 election indictment. Judge in Trump's January 6 case says it won't be delayed by upcoming presidential election, as evidence in January 6 case against Trump could be released before election under new schedule. Robert Hunter Biden convicted on 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanor tax offenses, as Hunter Biden makes surprise guilty plea in U.S. tax case, avoiding pre-election trial.
China to create mega brokerage by combining Guotai Junan and Haidong Securities as China starts merging state brokerages to create $226 billion giant. China creates its largest brokerage to take on Wall Street. Putin states widening gap between U.S. and Chinese economies. U.S. tightens export controls on quantum kit and chips for China, Iran, Russia.
U.S. accuses Russia's RT news outlet of election interference, and U.S. conservative influencers say they are victims of Russian disinformation campaign. Former 2016 Trump campaign advisor is charged over his work for sanctioned Russian TV, as Dmitry Sims and Anastasia Sims, who worked for Channel One Russia, charged with violating U.S. sanctions imposed on Russia. In the U.S., Department of Justice bombshell alleges, Mega Media Group is backed by Russian money, as right-wing influencers were duped to work for covert Russian operation, U.S. says.
SCMP comments as, the U.S. and China must avoid dropping a silicon curtain. Bill restricting U.S. contracts with Chinese biotech firms among first to pass House in China week. German warships to cross Taiwan Strait for first time in 22 years. Defying Beijing's warnings.
Afghanistan's London embassy to close after its diplomats were disowned by the Taliban. In Iraq, Shia alliance pressures PM al-Sudani to resign over wiretapping scandal. 20 days ago, wiretapping network busted at Iraqi PM's office. No spying took place by employees of Iraqi Prime Minister's office, said by advisor. Brazil changes its position and joins the complaint against Ortega at the UN.
Donald Trump vows bloody deportation of illegal immigrants, threatens jail for those who oppose his presidential bid. Trial begins over Trump train encounter with 2020 Biden campaign bus. In the U.S., retired military leaders defend Harris while placing blame on Trump for Afghanistan withdrawal in letter.
Nielsen announced over 67 million viewers tune in for ABC News Harris versus Trump debate. ABC debate moderators live fact-checked Trump's false claims from the stage, and Trump demands ABC be shut down for daring to fact-check debate. Former Vice President Dick Cheney says he'll vote for Harris. Liz Cheney calls Trump a catastrophe and urges Republicans to vote for Harris, and former President George W. Bush has no plans to endorse in the election. Trump wants 25th Amendment changed to impeach vice presidents.
Latvian authorities identify drone crash as Russian Shard kamikaze drone. Stockholm Arlanda Airport temporarily closed after mysterious drone sightings. Ukraine summons Iranian diplomat as Tehran denies missile transfer to Russia.
Sanai Takaichi, first female candidate to join LDP presidency race in Japan. Xi Jinping welcomes Spanish PM Sanchez as both sides seek to boost crucial ties. Microsoft to announce next phase of Copilot on September 16th. Firefox now lets you access your favorite AI chatbot without switching tabs. China's collapsing EV startups leave owners stranded.
Siemens Mobility to establish America's first high-speed rail production facility in Horseheads, New York. NHTSA proposes new pedestrian head impact safety standards, as U.S. seeks new pedestrian safety rules aimed at increasingly massive SUVs and pickup trucks. Budget airline was offers unlimited flights for €499 a year.
Musk denies report his XAI in talks over Tesla revenue. Honor's latest devices use AI to try to reverse nearsightedness. Kaspersky offloads U.S. antivirus customers to Pango Group.
HSBC considers cost-cutting merger of commercial and investment banking units. Goldman Sachs to post $400 million hit to third-quarter results as it unwinds consumer business.
Malaysia central banker sees rate hold in 2024 with growth at 5%. Bank of Japan may hike rates by year-end, says former FSA senior official. Yellen says U.S. economy remains solid, on path to soft landing with no meaningful layoffs.
Micron unveils 36 gigabytes, high-capacity version of ultra-fast memory useful for AI development. Blue Sky's total number of users has finally exceeded 9 million, and video posting function will be released soon. Replit releases Replit Agent, an AI that allows people with no knowledge to create apps simply by entering prompts.
BYD lifts annual sales target to 4 million EVs, plug-in hybrids. Volkswagen's $5 billion deal with Rivian leaves software arm, carried workers frustrated. CEO left out, claimed in a report. India's auto industry faces major slump as 780,000 cars remain unsold.
Rembrandt painting found in Maine attic fetches $1.4 million at auction. Britain stops export of World War II code breaker Alan Turing's wartime papers. Compass possibly belonging to Nicholas Copernicus unearthed at Frombork Cathedral Gardens.
NBC pulls back Tonight Show to 4 nights per week. World's first Aerospike engine aircraft to take to the skies in September. 4 months ago, world first Aerospike rocket flight test ends in disaster. Elderly Romanian woman used amber nugget worth over $1 million as a doorstop for decades.
Ukraine's Kursk offensive has triggered doubts among Russian elite, spy chiefs say. Biden says, ending ban on Ukraine's use of long-range weapons being worked out. Russian ship captured in satellite image, delivering ballistic missiles from Iran. Utah social media restrictions likely violate First Amendment, judge rules as Utah social media law requiring age verification blocked by judge. Americans used record 100 trillion megabytes of wireless data in 2023. Apple's Fuzzy Feelings wins Primetime Commercial Emmy Award.
Former Samsung executives arrested for allegedly stealing tech for China. MariaDB goes private with new CEO. As K1 closes acquisition. Facebook admits to scraping every Australian adult user's public photos and posts to train AI, with no opt-out option. New Titanic expedition discovers treasure lost on ocean floor for over a century. In the UK, builders renovating National Gallery find funders' letter commending demolition. Hong Kong's Cathay Pacific cancels another 20 flights on A350 planes, bringing total to 68. 32,000 Boeing workers may hold strikes in September 2024. Hewlett-Packard to pursue Mike Lynch's estate for up to $4 billion.
Investors are already valuing OpenAI at over $100 billion on the secondaries market. Fashion Valet, early e-commerce pioneer and Malaysian startup poster child, sold in fire sale, as netizens fume at Khazanah's fire sale of Fashion Valet at $1.1 million, or 1/10 of its 2019 value. Warren Buffett cautioned that you should be ready for any stock you buy to plunge 50% or more. Li Ka-shing's luxury mall in Hong Kong sits empty, as Chinese spending plunges. Spain hits record number of international tourists and spending in July and for the year. New Zealand triples entry levy it charges foreign visitors.
Stellantis won't sell or kill any of its 14 car brands after all. Volkswagen could close plants in Germany for the first time in history. BYD sales hit a record in August despite broader China EV slowdown.
Harris says she opposes U.S. Steel's sale to a Japanese firm during campaign event. British government wants to nationalize railways. 1 month ago, King's speech promises laws to nationalize train operations and set up GBR. Microsoft confirms that Windows 11 Recall AI is not optional. A glitch made it appear so in the Windows 11 24H2KB 5041865 update.
London workers are in the office just half the week, study finds. Also, young Londoners spend more time in office than older workers, survey finds. Japan wants its hardworking citizens to try a 4-day workweek. In Canada, international students allowed to work 24 hours a week. Novo to supply half of Danish growth in 2024, Dansk says, and Novo Nordisk sales increased by 24% in Danish kroner and by 25% at constant exchange rates to DKK 133.4 billion in the first 6 months of 2024. The U.S. economy grew 3% in the second quarter, faster than initially thought. Korea's inflation slows to 2% in August, lowest in over 3 years.
UN holds talks in Tripoli to resolve Libya's central bank crisis. Bank of Canada poised to cut rates again in widely anticipated move. New York seeking to charge Harvey Weinstein with more sex crimes as Britain drops its case. Con artist Anna Sorokin to join Dancing with the Stars, with ankle bracelet. In Canada, former federal public servant pleads guilty to awarding 72 sole source contracts to his own company.
Japan demands Denmark extradite Sea Shepherd founder Paul Watson over whale hunting clash. 2 months ago, anti-whaling campaigner arrested in Greenland, and police say he may be extradited to Japan. China jails Taiwan activist for 9 years on separatism charge. Nicolas Sarkozy's last-ditch move to delay Libyan trial has failed.
FBI dossier reveals Putin's secret psychological warfare in Europe. Moscow funneled $10 million to main employer of Hungarian government's cherished influencers, according to U.S. Department of Justice indictment. Russia says it will take action against U.S. media in response to Russian media charges. U.S. seizes 32 pro-Russian propaganda domains in major disinformation crackdown.
Blinken urges Israel and Hamas to finalize 90% agreed Gaza truce, and Netanyahu says no Gaza ceasefire deal in the making. German police kill suspected Islamist gunman in shootout near Israeli consulate. Ecuador foils attack on prison by explosive-laden drone.
U.S. and Chinese troops taking part in joint Formosa, former name for the Taiwan island, exercise in Brazil for first time, and China to send troops to Brazil for first time for military exercises. Chinese, U.S. theater commanders talk for first time since 2022 row over Pelosi Taiwan trip. Taiwan firms less worried about possible U.S. and China war, compared with 2022.
In Russia, first ever Leo Tolstoy Peace Prize awarded to African Union. De Gaulle's grandson tells State Duma speaker about plans to move to Russia. 1 year ago, Charles de Gaulle's pro-Kremlin grandson says he wants Russian citizenship. Ukraine peace proposals fail to protect Russian speakers, says Lavrov. Ukraine restricts Russian POW's phone privileges in response to executions of Ukrainians. Google bans verification of accounts using Russian phone numbers. Ukrainian official urges Toronto Film Fest to cancel documentary on Russian soldiers. In the U.S., leaders of transnational terrorist group charged with soliciting hate crimes, soliciting the murder of federal officials, and conspiring to provide material support to terrorists, as 2 white supremacists tried to spark race war by soliciting murder and hate crimes on Telegram, federal authorities say. Paris court charges couple in Iranian plot to kill Jews and Israelis. Kim Jong-un vows to increase nuclear weapons exponentially.
Ukraine needs investments from partners for mass production of long-range missiles and drones, says Zelensky. Russia says Ukrainian drones target refinery, power plants near Moscow. Brussels urges Mongolia to comply with ICC request and arrest Putin during official visit.
AfD becomes first far-right party to win German state elections since 1945, as German chancellor condemns first state election success for far-right party since World War II. Jacob Wall is running an AI lobbying company under pseudonym, Politico reports. 5 months ago, right-wing operatives Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman agreed to pay up to $1.2 million for misleading 2020 robocalls. 2020 election deniers ordered to pay $1 million in Pennsylvania voting machine dispute.
Hamas threatens to release video showing 6 slain hostages' last message. As Hamas admits to killing hostages, releases video of slain hostage Eden Yerushalmi. Hamas documents show tunnel battle strategy. Netanyahu seeks forgiveness for not saving Israeli hostages.
U.S. Central Command allegedly ran menacing ad campaign on Tinder in Lebanon. Do not take up arms against the U.S. and its partners. Poland has right to shoot down Russian missiles over Ukraine for national security, Polish foreign minister says.
UK to join CPTPP by December 15th. Following Peru's ratification of deal to join the bloc, the agreement will now officially enter into force by December 15th, 2024. Turkey bids to join BRICS and push to build alliances beyond West. Coal generates less than half of Australian power for first time. Taylor Swift has endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Donald Trump says Taylor Swift will pay a price for endorsing Kamala Harris. Elon Musk breaks debate silence with bizarre offer to impregnate Taylor Swift, and reportedly, Taylor Swift drove nearly 338K people to vote.gov with Kamala Harris endorsement post. Nancy Pelosi suggests 30% of Republicans are sexist, racist, homophobic. 88 corporate leaders endorse Harris in new letter, including CEOs of Yelp, Box. London Borough threatens to clear Lime hire cycles from streets over abandoned e-bikes. Havoc. South Korea's summit to target blueprint for using AI in the military, as 60 countries endorse blueprint for AI use in military, where China opts out. Quarter of Republicans view Kamala Harris campaign positively, as per a new poll. Trump says he had every right to interfere in the 2020 election.
Japan makes record $58 billion defense spending request amid Indo-Pacific tensions. South Korea's military intelligence faces overhaul after classified leaks to North. Dassault Aviation to sign Rafale Marine contract in India by end of 2024.
Putin says letting transgenders take part in women's events, destroying female sports. In the UK, protecting single-sex spaces is not a priority for most voters, says Robert Jenrick. The number of foreign prisoners in Spain has fallen by 35% in 15 years. Macron meets with former presidents, top politicians as search for PM narrows, and Socialist Party in disarray after Macron reveals possible socialist PM pick. South Korea president skips opening ceremony of parliament as strife with opposition deepens. Axios comments as, older workers aren't retiring, creating career gridlock for younger ones.
Israel braces for general strike after night of protests in support of a hostage deal. Biden and Netanyahu at odds again after US president says Israeli PM not doing enough in ceasefire and hostage release talks. Bloomberg comments as, Netanyahu's conflicts of interest are hurting Israel. Netanyahu says, Israel must remain in Gaza to prevent Hamas rebuilding as Netanyahu says, if we leave Philadelphia, Hamas will be able to rearm, revive, repeat October 7th.
Venezuela judge issues arrest warrant for opposition candidate Gonzalez. U.S. drafts list of 60 Venezuelans for possible sanctions over election, sources say. U.S. seizes Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro's airplane in the Dominican Republic, flies it to South Florida.
Trump calls Harris a Marxist, a communist, even a fascist. In the UK, voters beginning to think conservatives are weird. Research suggests TikTok likely helped far-right in elections, claims researchers.
FBI warns crypto industry, as North Korea ramps up raiding campaigns, provides advice to likely targets. Robinhood's former ban on crypto withdrawals draws $3.9 million settlement in California. UK regulator says 87% of crypto registration applications fail to meet standards for approval.
TRAvala.com partners with Skyscanner to expand crypto use in travel. MasterCard launches crypto debit card in Europe. Carrefour Express now accepts payments in Bitcoin.
Agent Layer to distribute 86M tokens to stakers and node operators. Binance to launch fixed-rate loans in USDC and FSUSD stablecoins. Morgan Stanley's institutional fund reveals exposure to BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. Coinbase must face shareholder lawsuit over regulator risk concerns, judge rules. Ether.fi to launch Visa Cash Card on Scroll Network. In Japan, a TEPCO firm uses surplus green energy to mine bitcoins.
Michael Saylor says Republicans have more progressive view on crypto, Democrats drifting to the middle. MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor predicts Bitcoin price will rise to $13 million. 6 months ago, it had been reported as MicroStrategy holds 1% of total Bitcoin supply after $600 million purchase. Americans were scammed out of $5.6 billion in 2023 as crypto fraud losses spiked 45%. SEC warns of Bitcoin and Ether ETF risks, labels BTC, ETH highly speculative investments. Payments in Singapore with stablecoins rise to almost $1 billion. Biden aides working on proposal for U.S. sovereign wealth fund. Blockchain music startup Tuned FM raises $50 million from global emerging markets.
Bitcoin leads $305 million digital asset outflows. CoinShares blames U.S. economic data. SEC might challenge FTX bankruptcy estate from paying back customers with stablecoins. OKX Singapore gets major payment institution license and taps former Grab executive as CEO. Crypto losses from hacks surpassed $313 million in August. WazirX hacker starts to move stolen Ether using Tornado Cash. Bitcoin BTC millionaires increased by 110% in 1 year amid market surge.
Canadian court orders man to repay $1.2 million in Bitcoin loan dispute. Binance executive in Nigeria detained for suspected $35 million money laundering. Crypto whales offload $326 million in Cardano, ADA, after Chong hard fork.
Qatar unveils 2024 Digital Assets Framework. Fake Ukrainian cops extort $250,000 in tether from online entrepreneur. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro proposes retaking the crypto path.
Russian firms bought Dutch microchip-making machine parts via China, reported by Trow. In tech war, China buys $12 billion worth of chip-making equipment in second quarter. Leaders of India and Singapore signed deal to cooperate on semiconductors.
Serbian president says he will not attend BRICS summit in Russia, despite invite. Erdogan to attend BRICS summit in Russia as Turkey seeks to join bloc. France's Macron names former Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier as new prime minister.
In the UK, ministers introduce plans to remove all hereditary peers from Lords. Maori Queen Na Waihano, Iti Papaki crowned in New Dawn for New Zealand. China's Tibetan Buddhists urged to obey reincarnation rules as Dalai Lama Mul's successor. Sony doesn't have enough original franchises built from the ground up, executive says. Leaked Disney data reveals financial and strategy secrets. Tech tycoon Larry Ellison will control Paramount Global after Skydance deal closes, announced in filing.
After seeing Wi-Fi network named Stinky, Navy found hidden Starlink dish on U.S. warship. Zelensky reshuffles cabinet at key moment in war and ahead of U.S. trip. IMF plans to resume cooperation with Russia. Ukraine calls for further isolation of the aggressor state.
Russia makes clear its support for Republika Srpska, as announced by Kremlin. Reportedly, internal Kremlin paper reveals, "We support the AfD with all means." Vladimir Putin says India, China, Brazil could mediate Russia and Ukraine talks, as Putin says Russia ready for talks with Kiev.
Leaked documents reveal Russia's secret trade channel with India for war equipment. Analysts say North Korea supplied about 1.13 million shells to Russia last year, amounting to $540 million. In Israel, the defense system performed the first successful test of the laser system to intercept air threats. In the UK, PwC will track employees to enforce return to office policy. Virtual learning linked to rise in chronic absenteeism, study finds. Germany wants to send migrants to Rwanda in facilities paid for by the UK after scheme scrapped by Labour.
Europe pulls back from EV shift as consumers snub pricey models. Nissan Patrol V8 dead. Twin-turbo V6 petrol confirmed for new model. BMW plans to bring its first hydrogen car onto the market from 2028.
7-Eleven owner rejects $38 billion buyout offer. Intel could be removed from Dow Jones due to Stark stock price drop, claims a report. Apple clears WeChat for iPhone 16 as talks persist over app fees. 2 weeks ago, Apple reportedly urges Tencent to close WeChat loopholes, bypassing App Store rules.
In the UK, black hole likely larger than £22 billion, as ministers pushed to scrap projects immediately. In the UK, universities need £12,500 tuition fees to meet costs, Vice-Chancellor suggests, and universities demand UK government finds cash for sector. Quebec man who imported 26,630 fake $2 coins made in China gets jail time.
Europe orders checks on A350 planes after engine fire on Cathay flight. Business travel is making a comeback as spending plans climb. Italy luxury yacht victims died of dry drowning. First autopsies show.
Union chief assails US Steel CEO, calls deal for company flawed. Volkswagen union backs 4 days week to avoid job losses. Bill Gates says, if I designed the tax system, I would be tens of billions poorer.
Syria says Israeli strikes kill 18 people in a large-scale attack. Bangladeshi Health Ministry reports death toll from summer riots at more than 630 people. In South Korea, in 2023, 61.3 billion won worth of drug smuggling was detected, 18% increase from a year ago.
Wall Street Journal reports that Iraqi banks used U.S.-created system to funnel funds to Iran. Reportedly, Milei made the biggest adjustments so far in at least 65 years. OPEC Plus postpones oil production hike in effort to reverse price slump.
Big Lots files for bankruptcy protection, sells to private equity firm as it promises to keep offering extreme bargains. James Bond's Aston Martin Vanquish set to fetch up to £70,000. Boeing offers 25% pay rise to avoid strike, and Boeing delays suppliers' 737 MAX output goal by 6 months, sources say.
Police deny claims of Haitian immigrants eating pets in Ohio, which is spread by J.D. Vance and right-wing commentators. French far-right leader Bardella allegedly faked documents to avoid EU funds embezzlement charges. Canadian fashion mogul Peter Nygard sentenced to 11 years in prison for sexual assaults.
ECB's chief, Draghi demands €800 billion cash boost to stem Europe's rapid decline, and buy your guns, missiles, and tanks at home, Draghi tells EU countries. France asks EU to let it delay submitting budget deficit plan, La Tribune reports.
Deputy PM Mir Grigorian announces official start of Armenia and EU visa liberalization negotiations. Russia expects to launch visa-free regime with Saudi Arabia and Malaysia in 2025. Saudi Arabia open to petro-yuan, closer China ties, minister says. Reportedly, America is pumping so much oil that gas could be below $3 by Thanksgiving. Google loses fight against $2.7 billion EU antitrust fine. OpenAI's most advanced AI model Strawberry to launch earlier than planned. AG Ferguson urges Congress to require warning labels on social media.
Unicode version 16.0 released with new emojis, faces with bags under the eyes, hieroglyphs, arrows added, information added to the Japanese character information infrastructure, and more. Cloudflare announces that it has reduced CPU usage by 1% for processes that run 35 million times per second by optimizing its code. Apple must pay Ireland more than $14